everybody. Robin here at Toadstool Tarot. I hope everybody's doing well today. It's a sunny day in New York, a little bit warmer. We've had a lot of cold, dark weather and snow lately, but today looks pretty good. I think it's going to be into the 40s, so that's good. Let me see who's with us today. We have Marilyn's Tarot Take. Hello. Red Wing, Will's Tarot Path, and SRAI Tarot. Welcome, everyone. So, if you've been following, you know that I've been doing a tarot clear out of all my shelves. And last week, I did a summary of some of the decks that I decided to let go, but I didn't get all the way through, and I was going to do the rest of them today. In the meantime, a deck came out that intrigued me, and I thought, there's no rush here. I will share that deck, and then next week, likely, we'll go back to the other decks in my clear out for sale. So if you do watch back last week's video and there's any decks in there that interest you, you can reach me at the following email address. And I will remind you of that next week when I do the rest of them. Also, there's something coming up. I've been thinking about content. Was watching a video by Martin's Musings the other day, and it was interesting because he did a video where he used, I think, about 5 different decks and looked at the same archetype in each of the 5 decks and compared them, and how you get different shadings of readings, different hits, depending on the visuals in each particular archetype, that there are some commonalities with some gradations, some differences. And I thought that was interesting. I do something like that when I go to the cafe. I read from anywhere from 3 to 5 decks, and I pose the same question to all of them, and they tell you don't do that. But I think the reason they tell you not to do that is because what they say is, don't ask the same question of different decks expecting a different answer. And I don't. What I expect is a different shading of the reading or a different perspective. So it's not like I'm, dismissing one in favor of another in hopes of a better, more likable or acceptable answer. It's almost like when you pair a tarot deck with an oracle deck for clarification. I get a little bit of a deeper reading, I think, if I use multiple decks. And I don't usually pull the same archetypes from each deck. So that's different. I'll do a reading, 3 to 5 card reading from one deck, and then I'll open another deck and do the same. And then I'll kind of like compare the two, and then I'll do a third, and then sort of see what happens among the 3. And it's interesting, sometimes a particular archetype will be a repeater from one spread to another, which I find really interesting. And that sort of calls my attention to focus more on the strength or the pronouncement of that particular card, since it's shown up more than once. Oh, I see. Simon has joined us. Yep. Was surprised to see some duplicate cards in both Chimera and Lonely Dreamer. I wasn't surprised because I noticed them when you went through the Chimera. Now, what I did notice, we'll get on that in a minute. Let me finish my thought. So what I'm going to do in a couple of weeks, after I'm done my tarot sale or trade or rehoming, I want to do something. I think I'm going to call it 3-on-3. And what I would like to do, if any of you are interested in volunteering, please send me an email And you can send your email to where's my banner thing? Oh, here. You can send emails to me at this address if you're interested. What I'm going to do is, like I said, it's sort of inspired by Martin's musings, but not quite the same thing. Hi, Saskia. I want to invite two guests on, and I may do this more than 1 week, but I want to show people that not only do you get different gradations or slightly different leanings into meanings on the same archetype over different decks, but you also have different people with different reading styles that approach those archetypes differently. So what I want is I want to have two guests on. There'll be three of us, and we'll do a 3-card reading. We'll agree on whatever the question posed is. And I don't know which one of us will pull the 3 cards, but we won't have different cards. We'll have the same archetypes for each of us. Now, it doesn't have to be the same deck, but it has to be the same archetype. And what we're going to do is we're going to take turns reading so that people out there in TarotTube that are in the learning process or want to learn how to read tarot will see there's no one way to read tarot, and to get little nuances in there in terms of how various people read. So I would love it if any of you are interested to send me an email. Let me know you're interested. It will be during a live. If I can find 2 other people 2 weeks from now, we will do one of those. And each one of us, and we're not into like critiquing each other's reading styles or any of that. It's going to be very respectful. Everybody will read these cards their own way. And then we may have a little bit back and forth afterwards in terms of something we might have learned from somebody else's reading, or something we saw that we didn't see before, that kind of thing. And I think it will be a fun kind of learning process for people and engaging. And the people in chat can chime in too with, what they might have to say about it. But anyway, I just thought this might be a way to kind of open up. There's lots of channels that talk about how to read tarot or how to learn tarot. And I thought this is kind of a practical way of showing, certain people have established their own methods. Mine has evolved over the years. And there are certain tools and tricks that I use when I read. And my approach may be different from somebody else. But I just kind of want to do this as a way to show new readers or learning readers or even established readers how other people read and see what happens there. So thank you for that, and I hope to hear from some of you. So now what we're going to do, I saw this on Simon's channel the other day, and I had kind of mixed feelings about it because initially I thought, oh, hasn't it been done already? It's the Chimera Tarot. And this is derived from the work of Symbolist artist Odilon Redon. Now, another deck has used his art previously a few years back called the Lonely Dreamer Tarot. And there is some overlap between the two. The Lonely Dreamer Tarot is full color. There are a handful of sepia tone or black and white images. This one is all black and white. The Lonely Dreamer is very obviously kind of computer collage manipulated in that the creator of it has sourced Redon's work and added things like swords, collaged swords and coins and wands and so forth into the imagery. Whereas the Tarot Chimera sort of hasn't done that. The tarot Chimera is a more realistic approach to his original art. But I just did a little research on him today, and I'm going to read you what it said. I just went on Wikipedia, and it said early in his career, before and after fighting in the Franco-Prussian War, he worked almost exclusively in charcoal and lithography, works known as his noirs. Now, I think that the Chimera is based mostly on those early charcoal and lithograph works because they're all dark. He gained recognition after his drawings were mentioned in the 1884 novel Au Rebours Against Nature by Joris Karl Huysmans. During the 1890s, Redon began working in pastel and oil, which quickly became his favorite medium, abandoning his previous style of noirs completely after 1900. He developed a keen interest in Hindu and Buddhist religion and culture, which increasingly showed in his work. He's best known today for his dreamlike paintings created in the first decade of the 20th century, inspired by Japanese art and leaning towards abstraction. His work is considered a precursor to surrealism. So there you have a little bit of background on him. So I think the big difference between these two decks is the Chimera is earlier work in charcoal, and the Lonely Dreamer is later work in pastels and oils, mostly. Also, I noticed, I looked through the guidebook in the Chimera, and I wondered whether any of the images had been altered other than perhaps framing or cropping the original artwork. And it turns out a handful, I think maybe 8 of them or something, had been altered slightly. Now, I've looked at those, I haven't studied them a long time. I've looked at them and I can't tell exactly what was altered or what was changed because I didn't have the original side by side to compare it with. But in the back of the book, there's a listing of all of the source material on the cards, and the ones that have been altered have a little asterisk next to them. So I think that's helpful to know if you have this, if you want to know, well, oh, did his original work look like this, or was it changed? The other thing is, these are decks that might be questionable to some because often when you take established artwork from established artists and then apply it to tarot, you're kind of like imposing the tarot system on ready-made completed works, which doesn't always work so well. Sometimes you get a really good curator in it and it works pretty well. Sometimes it just feels a little forced. Now, I was kind of feeling that way about this new deck. There is no doubt it's beautiful art. It's symbolist art. It's moody. It's melancholy. It's wonderful. It's amazing. But is it tarot? I don't know. I think it may only be tarot because the creator of this decided to curate it and impose the tarot system on it. We'll look at them side by side today, and you might notice some of the same cards in both decks, but they won't probably be the same archetypes. And that's just kind of like depending on the random or conceived concept of the creators that put the decks together, the choices that they made in applying art to a particular archetype. So the Lonely Dreamer Tarot, this was independently produced. This is the first edition. I had a little tiff with the creator because while I thought this was a beautiful deck, she made some changes within 3 months of releasing it. I think it was a Kickstarter, And I didn't join the Kickstarter, but I got in right as soon as it was released to try and grab one of the extra copies that wasn't accounted for before they sold out, and I got it. But within 3 months, she changed some of the cards and updated it to a second edition, which really pissed me off. To have to pay like a high amount for an indie deck and a Kickstarter, and then have it change, change the images in some of the cards less than 3 months later. I can understand living with a deck as a creator, and maybe a year later or several years later, you think better of some of your choices and change them. But 3 months, I mean, then you have to buy the deck all over again if you want, the difference. And it's not like major number of cards were changed. It was just a handful. And there's something about that really rubbed me the wrong way. I almost feel like if you paid for the first one, you should have got the second one for free if they're only going to change, 3 or 4 cards or 8 cards or whatever. But anyway, that's my beef about that. So this one came in one of these magnetic enclosure boxes, and both decks have extra cards in them. This one has a nice, lovely little white book, and these are linen stock cards, which I love. I love linen stock, and has a beautiful kind of texture feel to it. It's sort of matte. There might be a little bit of a glare here, but it is matte, and they're really, really quite beautiful. These are the backs. As I recall, the corners were a little bit smaller curve, or a little sharper, and I wasn't personally comfortable with it, so I used my corner rounder, and I made the corners a little bit rounder, a little bit more usable for me. I didn't edge it, but I did corner round it because I don't like sharp corners. And they weren't sharp exactly. It wasn't like one of those cut off sharp corners, but it was a smaller, tighter kind of curve. And something about it didn't quite feel right to me. And so I like, this is more comfortable for me. So anyway, I'm going to put the box aside. I don't think the publisher's listed on this because it was independently published. I'm going to put the book aside and the extra cards. We'll get to that later. Now, the Chimera is in a much larger, beautiful, very sturdy 2-part box. It's published by Wiser Books. It's a classy publisher. Very, very nice inside the box. A ribbon pull for the booklet, which is a large booklet. I'm not that keen on large books, but okay. And it does have, all the images in it and information. And I was happy to be able to read about whether or not the cards had been altered, and to sort of get a sense of the curating process of it. Now, I don't recall whether I read enough to find out how she chose the cards she did for the particular archetypes, but I will get into that. I do like the artwork titles reference at the back of the book, which gives you the archetype, the title, the date that it was published or painted, I guess, where it's housed. Art Institute of Chicago, it looks like a lot of them are. National Gallery. No, I guess they're all over. But it's nice that it does give you, with asterisks, the ones that have been modified. So we're at 12:20 already. I better get moving on these. There are some tarot spreads in the back of the book. So I'll set that aside. There's a little bit of a recess in there where the cards are. The cards are regular tarot size and a ribbon to pull the cards out. This deck also has some extra cards in it, which I will likely not be using. This deck also is, what do you call it? Linen stock. Feels different. It feels a little more pronounced linen than the Lonely Dreamer. I love the back. I love the back design. I don't usually like it, kind of reversible or double back kind of thing, but I really love this one. The cards are gilded, and if you know me, I'm not that big on gilt-edged cards. I think when Simon showed them, he said it was like a matte gilding. I'm not sure if it is, or if it changes from place to place according to what Weiser did. I mean, it's not real shiny gilding, but yeah, you can see a little bit of a sheen there on the corner. So I don't know if I would say if that's matte or not. It doesn't bother me too much. Oh, it did come bound in a little black paper band. And I found that some of my extra or bonus cards, or the top one actually, the edges were a little bit damaged from the paper banding. So I don't know what the solution is there, because I do prefer, in a way, that they use paper banding instead of shrink wrap. But the way they're doing it, I think the machines are set too tight and they're damaging the cards. So maybe they need to find a better method for that. Like maybe they need to put it in like tissue paper and then put it in there or something. Or I don't know. There's got to be or maybe an inner, just kind of a blank tuck box inside the bigger box, one that you can toss once you've opened the deck. I don't know what the solution is, but we don't want damaged cards. Now, one of the things I don't like about this, it's quality pretty much all the way, with one exception from me. There is, it's not even showing up on camera, but under the light, you can see there's a very thin, very faint, glossy lamination over the linen. And I don't know, I don't think you're going to be able to tell on camera here between the difference, but because they look like they're shining about the same. But under the light, it feels like there's like a thin film of glossy lamination on the linen, which personally I don't care for, and I think it cheapens the look of the deck. I kind of prefer just that look and feel of actual linen cards. But that's me. That's my particular taste or whatever. Let's see. Let me put the extra cards aside, and I will address those later. So let's get to this walkthrough. The original one, they're both labeled, and they're both like hand script labeled with numbers and the names, and the fonts are nice. It's a little harder to read the Lonely Dreamer one when it's set off against color. And this one's pretty clear. Now you can see here two different fools. I don't like the fool in the Lonely Dreamer. In fact, there's an extra card, I think, called the Seeker, which I tended to substitute and use instead, which I like better. I just kind of don't like this floating triangle on this card. I don't know if that's in the original painting or not, but it's strange. I don't get it. But again, we have these cards where, this is pre-done artwork, and it's like, do you see the fool in these images? I don't know. I'm at a stage now where it probably doesn't bother me that much. I can read with them either way, as long as I've got a label on it that says what archetype it is or rank and suit. I can read with it and just treat the visuals as a atmospheric layer over the top, which may or may not give me add something to my intuition for reading, but it's not that important. So, I mean, it's kind of like, oh, we've got an art deck basically coupled with tarot titles. Now, some people are not going to like that. They want to be able to actually see, say, the Fool in their deck, and I don't know whether you do here or not. Let me make a little bit of space in front of me, and so I can show and turn these. Magician. The High Priestess. That's interesting. They chose the same one for the High Priestess. That's good. The Empress. Now, it's up to you to decide. First of all, I don't think you can get the first edition anymore of The Lonely Dreamer. I think they might be up to a third edition now, but I'm not sure. You might still be able to get the second one. Marilyn says, I think the fact that it's not your standard Fool adds to the layers of interpretation. Will says, lots of people with years of practice that just use the book because they haven't tuned in to intuition. The Emperor. The Hierophant. And you can see in this one, they've added the keys. So that's what I mean about sort of altering the imagery of the paintings. I don't believe those keys were in this original painting. I'm sure that she sort of computer photograph or whatever enhanced, added them. I believe this card is in the Lonely Dreamer deck later on. It will show up probably. The Lovers. The Chariot. Strength. This is a card that disturbed me the most in the Lonely Dreamer because of this modern jaguar or lioness or whatever that was imposed on the image in the card. I'm fairly positive that that's not in the original painting. It just kind of looks too contemporary to me to be in artwork from 1900 or thereabouts. The Hermit. I think this Hermit image was used in this deck as the Hanged Man, but we'll see coming up, which makes sense, hanging from a chain. Wheel of Fortune. Justice. Yes, here we go. The Hanged Man. Death. Oh, interesting, interesting. I think they did say in the notes for the Chimera that the intensity of the artwork in terms of the contrast and darkness and clarity of line was beefed up. And you may be able to see that here in the similar skeletons. Not sure what's going on in the bottom and how that was altered or modified. But yeah, it looks like some splash color was added. Not sure. And then there are others of you that might think, well, if they're going to use the original artwork, should they mess with it at all? Maybe they should completely leave it alone and not add anything to it. And that's an argument that can be made to, be pure about the imagery. What do we got here? Temperance. The devil. The tower. The star. The moon. The sun. I think one of the things that appealed to me about the Lonely Dreamer when I bought it is I bought it kind of for the color. I mean, I liked Redon's Symbolist artwork, but I like the colors in it. It's an unusual palette that's sort of like a summer afternoon or something. And I liked those colors. It was kind of cheery / melancholy. I mean, whereas this other one in charcoal, black and white, can be on the darker side, a very internal nighttime kind of deck, as opposed to a late afternoon in the sun kind of a deck. Judgment. Well, and I like the feel of the newer black and white deck better. It hits deeper, I think. Well, there's a kind of an intensity, I think, to the charcoal works, and the fact that they came earlier in his career may have some weight too on where he was at kind of emotionally at the time. Saskia, I have the Lonely Dreamer second edition. I was drawn by the colors, but we never bonded, and I don't use it. The world. Ace of Wands. This was kind of when I saw the deck, I thought, well, I already have a Redon deck. Do I need another one? I don't know. And I thought, well, maybe I'm being too hard on it. I need to I don't buy decks that often. And even though the prices have gone up, it still was affordable, mass market. I think it was $29 and I could get it overnight. So I thought, okay, well, content for the channel. We'll do a little comparison here. And it may be one of those decks, that you buy it for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. This one may be for either a reason or a season. I don't think it's for a lifetime for me. The Two of Wands. Now, the Two of Wands, this one in the Lonely Dreamer is one of the extra cards called the Seeker, which I had been using as the Fool instead of that Fool card. But you'll see it later in full color when I drag it out. Three of Wands. This is my personal significator card, and I identify more with this version than the new one because there's three wands there, but that's something that the creator imposed on his artwork, I believe. Four Wands. Some of them I looked up when I saw them. I thought, gee, now this one, there's that kind of framework or gazebo or whatever, the structure. I thought, well, was that in the original work or was that added on? And I looked it up, and I think it's in the original, which shocked me because it looked to me like it might have been added. So this is well done. It's very hard to tell where images have been altered and where they've been left alone. Six of Wands. Seven of Wands. Eight of Wands. This one looks familiar. I think this might be in this deck, but I'm not sure where it is. Nine of Wands. There's something much more kind of romantic about this deck than this one. This one's more psychologically dark. Maybe people talk all the time about shadow work. Maybe this is a shadow work deck. I don't know. I'm still not really clear on what shadow work is. I feel like there are shadows as elements in, every reading, and I hopefully bring that into a reading when I read, that I have all the possible facets in a reading when I look at cards. 10 of Wands. Page of Wands. Knight of Wands. Queen of Wands. Hey, Emma. King of Wands. Okay, so now we're into cups. Ace of Cups. Two. Oh, what the hell? What am I doing? I mixed up my cups and my swords. Hold on a second. What have I got? What have I done? I hope that just happened. Did I just go through a whole suit that was not right? Wands. No, I went through the wands. Now I'm into cups. Cups and swords. Let me see. Let me flip my cards around so I've got the right. Sorry, bear with me a second. Okay, I think I got it now. Ace of Cups. Why is that on my screen? Two of Cups. Three of Cups. For me, the Lonely Dreamer is a little easier just because the visuals of the elements on the cards, as opposed to having to pull it out of your ass intuitively in these images that don't, Four of Cups. I mean, I guess that's a Four of Cups because the focus is like the mind is not focused on the figure in the background, maybe. I don't know. There's sort of distraction in this one, but you see the Four Cups. Five of Cups. I think we saw this image earlier in the other deck. Six of Cups. I have a few art decks like this that sort of give one pause. The Klimt, the golden Klimt, the golden Botticelli. Not sure which others come to mind at the moment. Seven of Cups. Eight of Cups. Hello, Lex. Nine of Cups. Ten of Cups. Oh, I also wanted to say, I don't know. I doubt any of you are in New York, but if you are in New York, what I might be doing is a public tarot meetup deck trades. I have to check it out, but I think I've mentioned in past walkthroughs that I made friends with one of the bartenders at Club Cumming who was a tarot reader. And I like to go there sometimes Saturday afternoons and enjoy their tea dance, which is very loosely defined as a dance. Very rarely, it's a small place and not that many people dance. You can request songs and stuff, but anyway, there are a few little tables and chairs in there, and I'm thinking about sort of finding a way to announce it on Facebook and schedule when I'm going to be there or when people in the New York area want to come in with a handful of decks for sale or trade. Now, I don't want to turn this into a tarot convention or anything, and I don't want to inconvenience the bar, but if people are coming in for a drink and seated at a table and they've got half a dozen decks or less, it shouldn't be an issue to like sit with friends and look at decks and trade them and stuff. It'd be different if they're bringing in suitcases full of decks and doing a display. No, that's not the plan. But I am going to check this out and see. So if any of you are in New York City and free on Saturday afternoons and interested in buying or trading decks, I might do that with the results of my clear out, the ones I'm trying to rehome. Page of Cups. Knight of Cups. Queen. King. Okay, now we're on to swords. Ace of Swords. Two of Swords. Three of Swords. It's funny, I'm looking at some of the qualities of the Redon charcoal ones, and some of them look very spiritual, and they remind me of some of the pastel works by Khalil Gibran, and I have an oracle deck. Do I still have that? I think I still have it, of his sort of spiritual. He did pastels or charcoals, the artworks that kind of he paired with some of his images, and it was turned into an oracle deck. And that's interesting. 5 of Swords. Some of the images are a little on the dark side. 6 of Swords. Oh, there we go. There's a similar image. 7 of Swords. I wonder whether the gal that did the Chimera deck looked through The Lonely Dreamer to sort of help her decide on some of the archetypes, because there is some overlap, but I don't know if it's coincidental or if she just kind of agreed or what happened there. 9 of Swords. 10. Oh, this is funny. We just had this image. Just had this image here. You can see what the difference in the manipulation by adding the swords over the face. So this is the Page of Swords. Knight of Swords. Queen of Swords. King. It's funny, this is one I looked up too, because I thought, oh, that sword looks to me like an afterthought, like it was added in, but this was not one of the manipulated cards, I believe. So again, I was fooled and can't tell which ones have been modified and which ones haven't by the look of them. Now we're down to the last suit, the Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles. MA, the Prophet Oracle, does resemble some of these cards. Yeah. Three of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles. I think this is one of the bonus cards in the other deck, or extra cards, I should say, not bonus cards. 5 of Pentacles. 6. 7. I'm intrigued. It seems like the new deck, the Chimera, is really popular already. I mean, it's very new, but people seem to love it. But I'm surprised because people are generally critical of black and white decks and want color. 9 of Pentacles. 10. Page. Knight. Queen. And lastly, King. So there you have the two decks. Now we'll go to the extra cards. I don't have these in particular order, but okay. I don't think I'll do them side by side because there's not a correspondence here. But okay, the Lonely Dreamer, the first extra card was the Seeker. This is the one. We have this in the other deck, but I can't remember which card it corresponded to. And this is the one that I tended to use in place of the Fool instead of the Fool because I didn't like the original Fool card. This is an alternate 8 of Wands for people that didn't like spiders or had an aversion to spiders. They had another version of this in the Lonely Dreamer. This card's called the Dreamer, which could also be used as a Fool card. This is L'Ombre. I don't know what that means exactly. And the Guardian Spirit. I think that was our Fool card in the other deck. And then this last one that's unnamed. So those are the the extra cards in the first edition of the Lonely Dreamer. The extra cards in the Chimera are Genius Loki, the Visionary, Chimera, Trickster. That was one in the other deck. I can't remember which one it was. And the Muse. So there you have it. I don't know how you feel about the comparison between the two, and whether you're leaning in one direction or another. You'll be hard-pressed to find the first edition of the Lonely Dreamer now, whereas the Chimera was just released, and it's mass market and readily available for now. Don't know whether this may become a collectible. It looks like it could be. The Lonely Dreamer is not a deck I use very much, but it didn't pass out of my tarot clear out. I have decided to hold on to it. So there we have it. And I just want to remind everybody, there's only 5 minutes left. I want to remind everybody, that I may be doing tarot trades at Club Coming. I might not either. B, I want to do this content in a couple weeks, the 3-on-3, where I have 3 readers doing the same 3-card spreads using the same archetypes, but displaying their different reading styles. And they may be very similar or they may be widely different, but that'll be interesting to see. And thirdly, what was the third thing? Oh, if you want to participate in the 3-on-3 and be a guest with me, send me an email. What was the other thing? I don't know. I've forgotten. But thank you for joining me this week, and I will see you all next Saturday. And I guess the third thing was if you saw cards last week that I'm selling or trading that you're interested in, contact me via my email. That's what that is. So yeah, I'll see you all next week, and we'll finish off the review of the last clear up. I think there's 2 little boxes of stuff I collected beside the big bag I went through last week, and hopefully I can get it all across to you next week, and we can be finished with my tarot clear out for at least another 6 months to a year when I reconsider stuff that I've set aside. Even between the time I started and finished the clear out, I ended up adding 2 more decks to the clear out. So if you noticed last time. All right, I'm going to go, and have a great week, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you.